think the question was about what happens when you start telling them. You start telling them that you've noticed?
Or, well, the question was
something?
Once you stop telling them what they want to hear.
Yeah. It can get ugly.
You confront them about, you call them out on their shit?
Well...
How would you do that?
Incredibly politely. I did have one particular client like that, and I can't give many details, but they had said something to me about how a certain thing had helped them in their life, and then I said, oh, well, how has that thing helped you in your life? And they just blew up.
Oh, they took it as that you're suspicious of them telling the truth?
Right, so you don't even know what could set them off at a certain point. It wasn't even confrontational, and they screaming and yelling, and just like, oh my gosh.
Let's say this person is like your mom or sister or brother. Is there anything that you can do to help them have a better, more effective therapy session? And if they had a problem of skipping through therapists because they just couldn't stick with one, what can you do?
I mean, that's part of the process. These types of clients are going to skip, and they're going to skip, and they're going to skip, and they're going to keep changing for a while. The best thing to do is to trying to find them one that's suitable. Sometimes, depending on the diagnosis, like if it is borderline personality disorder, a lot of big cities will have a borderline center. So you can contact them and get some information and hopefully get them enrolled there.
Nicole Cain Rath asks, were there any people you couldn't help? And if yes, what were their problems?
So yeah, I mean, there were a few. I've been super lucky overall. I tend to get clients who are just so fun to work with. I would say maybe one or two that maybe we just didn't click. It wasn't even that their problem was too difficult. It was just that maybe our personalities didn't work.
Right.
And, that's just facts of life, right? You can't do anything about that. As fun and likable as I am, right? Once in a while, that's not going to work for somebody. They
don't like fun, likable people.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Maybe they wanted somebody who was maybe even more gentle, or maybe they wanted somebody who was very by the book, or, maybe they wanted someone uptight. I don't know. I don't know.
What I'm taking away is the biggest problem is usually that they don't want to be there. You can't help someone who doesn't want help.
Yeah. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, that's true.
Bully them into it?
Yeah.
Stop being depressed. Stop it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want therapy, it tends to be effective.
Oh, well that's good.
Yeah. If you don't want it, consider alternatives? I don't know.
What are the alternatives? Just
stay the way you are.
Okay. Next question, S. Blomkamp asks, how can you convince someone who feels fine to go to therapy?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you can try to be manipulative, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't that his other question?
Yeah, well that was...
How do you manipulate people?
Are you piecing his story together based on his questions?
Yeah. You can tell them positive stories about your experience with therapy. You can tell them it might help them with certain things in their life that maybe they're less sensitive about. So if, maybe that's the foot in the door sort of thing.
Right. Just get them into therapy for something that they're not as uncomfortable to talk about.
Yeah, that might help.
This is a good manipulation technique. I like it.
Gosh. This is probably one of the hardest ones, right? I totally sympathize with S. Blomkamp, who's clearly in a situation right now with a family member, or...
I don't think he intended to expose himself like this.
Yeah, trying to make it about something that's not quite as sensitive. I can't give a good answer to this one.
So it
ties so back into they have to want to be there.
Yeah.
Find a way to make them want to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there is still a lot of stigma about therapy. I don't know.
What is your solution to the whole taboo around therapy?
I mean, I think it's it's changing so rapidly right now anyway. You know, I think just being open about it in your own life. Like, we make it weird by not talking about stuff.
Like masturbation.
Exactly. Thank you, Zeta.
Masturbation, therapy, it's just one and the
It's
same.
the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
That's not what you do in therapy.
There's a whole waiver form.
Spiritworld_X asks, why does therapy only seem to work when I go on a regular basis?
One of the main ways in which therapy works is just having that close, comfortable relationship where you can kind of unload your problems, right? You know, I think Freud called it catharsis or something like that, right? You're unburdening your mind. What you might need more of in your life is good, close relationships where you can talk to people. Maybe it might have to do with building better friendships or something like that. Another possibility in this situation might be maybe you're losing motivation over time. That you're in it for a marathon, right? It's not a sprint, right? To keep that habit and to keep reminding yourself of the effective strategies you've learned to help with your behaviors or your feelings or whatever's getting in the way. Mm-hmm. That could be a possibility, is that you just need that reminder, because we all backslide. You know, don't beat yourself up about it. Everybody backslides all the time. It's totally normal. Yeah. You know, if you've been battling depression for 10 years at home alone, right, and you've gone to therapy now for a few months, once a week, you know, it's not fixed. It's better.
Right, because it's not just seeing a therapist that will help you. It's also friends and going
We're practically useless.
Right.
We're there for an hour in your life. That's nothing, right?
Right. That's a good point.
We're like dust in the wind or something, right?
Just as soon as you leave, you just forget about what happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, actually, there is something about that. Like a number of people are interviewed like long after they've had therapy, and a lot of them forget. They forget everything that happened in therapy. Their life is much better.
Oh, okay.
Their life is much better because they've changed and they've developed, but they forget that they've ever been there. But because they made those changes then, you know, what they end up remembering is that they did it, right? So
that's weird.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
So you guys are like secret plumbers for the brain. Plumbers for the brain. You just get in there, you get out, and no one even knows that you were there.
Like masturbating.
This video is sponsored by masturbating.
And Squarespace.
Okay.
They sponsor everything, right?
They don't sponsor me.
You should get on that.
Yeah.
Squarespace, hire her.
I don't know if they want me. Brings us to our last question by Anthony N. Do therapists use other therapists, or can they treat themselves?
Oh, absolutely they use other therapists. I actually have been a therapist to another therapist, which was super cool and really intimidating because he had more experience than I did. It was wonderful. It was like... It was such a great experience. I think, like, because we both knew the language of each other, you know, and we just got into sync really quickly, and it was super fun and, like, insightful and just, like, a really great experience. So, yes, absolutely, therapists do see other therapists, but it is not uncommon for therapists or anybody in helping professions to have messed up lives too, right? I know therapists who have contemplated suicide. I know therapists who have had depression, anxiety, procrastination, you know, messed up family lives. I think, I remember reading this story once about this great leader in the field, right? He taught probably 1,000 other therapists how to do therapy. But he, you know, his own kids won't talk to him because he messed up their lives so much, right? So therapists are totally susceptible, just like everybody else.
They're not exceptions of human beings.
Exactly. Can they help themselves? Of course. They maybe even get arrogant about it, thinking, of course, I can do this.
Yeah.
I've helped lots of people. I know what the textbook says.
Yeah.
You know, how good of a job do they do? I don't know. I'm sitting here in a bathrobe, so... I don't know.
Does it ever get weird? You mentioned you did therapy for a therapist. Is it ever weird because they know your techniques.
Right.
And so like they see right through
Don't
you.
try that on me.
Exactly. Is it ever like that?
Yeah. Don't think that came up.
Okay.
I think really good therapy, for the most part, you're not using obvious techniques. Like, you might throw in an activity once in a while where you're like, okay, we're just going to try this activity.
Yeah.
And that might be like kind of isolated from the rest of the conversation. You're like, okay, let's just try this thing. It's going to be weird for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's do this childhood memory thing. Or once in a while, a client will say, like, let's not do that, or yeah.
Right.
Or once in a while, it also is like maybe you haven't blended the technique enough into the conversation.
Sounds hard.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I just kind of forget about most of that stuff and focus on having a good conversation.
So you're like,
and
okay,
yeah.
So the textbooks are like, I don't know if this is like too far-fetched, but you mentioned that people forget that they went to what they talked about in therapy. You forget what you learned in school, but it's like it's deeply ingrained in you. So it's
it's not that I forget it. It's that I don't want to rely on it. It's not that I'm not using any techniques, because like I know them, and I it's not like I forgot the textbook, but I think it's more of an interesting way of working it in, where you're not trying to hit the nail with the hammer. You're trying to find out what's going on with this person.
That's all the questions I had.
Oh, okay.
That the viewers had. Thank you for your questions. They were great.
Yeah, that was super fun.
Yeah. If you guys have more questions, please leave them in the comments, and then he'll come back. Right?
We're done here.
I'll make you more juice.
Well, I'm getting out of here.
Maybe I'll find an actual purple bathrobe. You get juice and purple bathrobe. Do you have anything else you want to add or say?
Don't be afraid to reach out and talk to a therapist. Your local neighborhood probably has a bunch of them. A lot of them will, talk to you over the phone briefly, just so you can like say hello and find out maybe if you like them at all. Some will offer a free consultation type thing if you want to, meet them for just a few minutes just to see if you feel comfortable with them. Many areas have lower budget counseling available somewhere. Quality is not always dependent on price.
Anything you want to shout out? Your website or social
Yeah,
media?
just put that in the description below. We'll put a link.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll also put it right here. You don't have any social media, right? Do you?
I have a website.
I mean, that's not social media.
I don't Twitter.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how.
I don't know either.
Yeah. If you know how to Twitter, leave it in the comments below. Good.
So that's the end of the Q&A session. Make sure to check out the outtakes if you want to see more of me laughing my ass off, because that happened a lot. Thanks.